afternoon. Welcome to the Mrs. Best Reviews channel. We are here this Saturday afternoon to go over the latest episode of Love During Lockup's episode called Got You a User. So, Saturday recaps are quick, so we are going to attempt to get this done in under an hour. So, we're going to go over each couple and what happened with them in the relationship or not the relationship, but in the episode, and then we will proceed from there. So the first couple we saw in this episode was Savannah and Jake. Apologies for looking down. I do have notes to keep my brain in order. Savannah's loony. She's freaking loopy. I said this last week. All she cares about is marriage and freeing this man. It seems like she cares more about that than what could potentially have caused him to be locked up. I mean, you can't just trust the word of one person. It's not even about him being an inmate. There's a person's version, another version, and then the truth. So Savannah, on the previous episode, basically met with one of Jake's childhood friends who he had her meet with because he doesn't want her meeting with family and felt like the friend could give her some insight on what Jake was like before he went to jail, some information about his case. I mean, she wanted to know these things, but instead of waiting like most normal people would, and she bombarded Jake's friend Tim with a shit ton of questions, which obviously scared the friend off. I mean, rules of the street, you don't just want to be talking about someone else's business, someone else's case, especially on camera. So obviously Savannah lacks street smart. She just doesn't seem very intelligent to me. I can't thoroughly take her serious. She seems a little off, just a little manic. So she tells Jake that Tim suddenly left after she asked questions. And Jake basically was like, I have no clue why he would do that, but doesn't say that he'll follow up or talk to his friend. Mind you, the friend Tim was like, I haven't heard from Jake in years and forever. He's randomly hit me up and now I got to meet a girlfriend. So that's a little off, just a little odd, but I guess we will see as it goes. So Savannah, like the true crazy loony lady that she is, Savannah decides to go to Jake's mom's house because she's in Waterloo, Iowa, which is where Jake's family is. She's in Waterloo, and I'm not even understanding why she came to Waterloo, because it's like if you're not visiting Jake, you don't have good relationships with his family members and they don't want to see you. Why the hell did Savannah go to Waterloo instead of staying her ass at home where she was welcome? I can't understand it, but maybe there's something else to it. We'll find out later in the season. But so far, she's just looking a little kooky. She's looking genuinely a little loony. So why are you going to this lady's house? Don't go where you're not wanted. It's really that simple. So she goes to the mom's house. She doesn't physically knock on the door, but she goes and sits right by the house of his mom, which I think is an entire violation separate from it being weird just because there's cameras involved. What if this lady did not want her house on camera? What if she had her bras hanging out in the front yard to dry and didn't want that on camera? Why? So she calls Jake's mom, leaves a voicemail. Of course, the mom does not answer. Looks like she forwards the call. She basically says that she's trying to help him. She has no motive other than to help her son. I thought what she said was appropriate, but she shouldn't have gone to his house. At the same time, I'm also big on respecting your spouse. Like if your spouse is like, don't deal with my family, I would trust it. And if you can't deal with it, then leave. That's how I feel. So she then speaks to Jake after this whole ordeal while driving home. And she tells Jake that she called his mom and then proceeds to say, stop by the neighborhood. He said he got mad. It sounded like he was mad. He said that she is stupid for it and it's going to blow up in her face. And when it does, it's not his fault. He had no empathy, sympathy, nothing, because he told this lady and she doesn't fucking listen. So I can't even be mad. So later in the episode, we see Savannah go meet with her friend Caitlin, and we basically see that Jake calls, and when talking to the friend and getting to know her, he's like, can you guess what we were talking about? Savannah says, and Jake goes, let me guess, marriage. And she's giggling, but he says he's tired of talking about marriage. He says lately he feels like all they talk about is marriage, and this man is sick of it. I said, if you listen, he's in jail. So if he's tired of you in your conversations, like something is seriously wrong. Like, she does talk about marriage quite a bit. She lies to her friend and says the lawyer said if we get married, it could potentially help his case. Savannah pried that information out the lawyer. The lawyer did not even find it necessary to bring that up on his own because whatever's going on with the case, which we're still trying to figure out, is so severe that they don't want him to just be out. So, and his family's not dealing with him. So basically, Jake is tired of talking about marriage, and her friend starts asking him important questions like, you want to be with her? And he says he cares about her, but when he gets out of jail, he wants to experience other women. Not only that, he specifically wants to experience other women physically. I'm like, listen, player, you cannot be in a relationship with a woman while experiencing other women physically, unless it's one of those polyamorous things or polygamy, which I don't take serious. You see that shit never works. I'm just saying, go watch Sister Wives. Shout out to TLC. Go watch it. That shit never works. So I'm just like, obviously he has these things. He's been in jail since he was 19 years old. So now he's a complete adult man. He only has 5 years left. So he's really annoyed with Savannah for bringing up the marriage as a need to get him a commutation. It's unrealistic. And the thing of it is, he committed his crime. He did the crime. And it sounds like Jake is okay with doing the time. And he, which for her feels like an eternity, but for him is quick. And when he gets out, he wants to explore other women. He says he wants to live on his own before he gets married. And I think it sounds like, based on what I've gotten, it seems as though Jake is honest about what he wants and what he wants to do in the future. And it also sounds like Jake understands that he's been in prison since he was a kid. So he doesn't know what it's like to date. He doesn't know that this lady is the one that he wants to be with for the rest of his life. And she's got to be fucking crazy if she thinks that that's what he would want. When she said in the first episode, she's known to sleep around, she's promiscuous, she's open, nothing wrong with it. But why can you have that experience and he can't, you know? So that's all we got from Looney, Savannah, and Jake. Interesting couple. I do not think that they will last. I just don't. I just really don't. Anywho, we're going to move on to the next couple, which is Jade and Chris. So Jade and Chris are Hot Mess Express. They just seem to argue a lot like a true married couple. She's in Florida. He's in jail in South Dakota. We find out in the previous episode that many of the things that Jade has have been purchased by Chris, from her home to her RV to her ATVs to the furniture. Basically, it's all his money because Chris has money from his family's casino, and he says he's Native American. So he's been able, we find out from his family, to build up a large lump sum of money because he is not he's just sitting in jail. He has no way to spend the money outside of Jade. So Jade and Chris have been married for 6 years together, married for 5 years, together for 6. She's driving to the prison with her sister. The prison's in South Dakota. She's in a whole nother state. So they're going to have a very long drive, which is interesting. But they're discussing a comment Chris made on the last episode, which was about the fact that everything he's purchased for Jade is in his name. And he was saying that like his family shouldn't worry if Jade's with him for money because everything is in Jade's name. So Jade had an issue with that. And she says the reason she didn't see a problem with it in the beginning is because Chris said that if they ever divorced, that he would do everything 50-50 split. I mean, everybody knows that's what people say, but you find out who you really was married to when you divorce. So basically, there's not much that we got from Jade and Chris this episode. She basically comes to the consensus that she's going to start saving money, maybe in a separate bank account, so that she has something for herself if she ever has to go. And her sister makes the funny idea of like buying expensive bags, purses, things that you can resell. I don't think that's smart, just because $1,200 today, it could be worth $22,000 tomorrow. It could be worth nothing in a couple of years. You never know, you know? So we're going to move it on along since they gave us nothing this episode. And we're going to move on to Letitia and Keith. I just cannot with this couple. I just cannot. But I was really annoyed with her outfit that she wore to visit Keith. She just seems extra where she doesn't need to be extra. So she talks to Keith about other women because she had heard from a friend who went out that one of Keith's baby mamas, because yes, he does have multiple. I don't understand why these women be wanting men with multiple baby mamas, but hey, she's got looks like multiple baby daddies, so whatever. Let them be together and leave the rest of us alone. But basically, when she talks to Keith about what his baby mama said, the questions, she was like, babe, as soon as Keith sounded a little upset. And Letitia gives me yes men. It seems like she doesn't say no to Keith and she doesn't keep things real. She just says what she has to do so that her husband is happy. She's one of those bitches who thinks in her head that marriage is just do what my man say. And I'm not going to question it. He going to leave. You don't have a traditional marriage. You got married in jail by proxy, meaning y'all didn't even hold hands, touch, kiss, or actually say I do. And she says my husband like 1,000 times per episode. It drives me up a wall. It really does. My husband this, my husband that, my husband. I've been married 11 years. I don't use the term husband this much. Like insanity. Anyhow, so, basically her and Keith come to the agreement that women are going to be plotting on him and that's just what it is. They're older people, but they behave like they're like 15-year-olds. Like, I don't get it. Like, just the way they behave is weird. So we meet Letitia's children, Naraya. I cannot remember the younger one's name. But the younger one, she's okay. The younger kids are usually still close to mom and just happy to be around their parents. We see her on the phone with Keith when at home with her kids just coming in. And I actually can see that Letitia seems to be like a good mom, a loving mom, with the exception of dating the inmate and marrying him. We see her daughter's not interested in talking to Keith on the phone. And I don't blame her. Love After Lockup, if you watch the series, I'll say if you know, you know. The kids are usually smarter than the adults. It's kind of sad, but it's fascinating how somebody so stupid could raise a kid that's so bright. But then again, if I think of my own parents, I'm not dumb and they're not the smartest. So, these things are facts. Anywho, she takes her kids to go bowling, which I thought was nice. While with her kids, she talks to them about Keith, specifically Naria, who is 14 years old. And she wants to know why Naria is against getting to know Keith. She's not rude, but she doesn't talk to him unless forced to. She doesn't make an effort. And she's 14. She shouldn't have to. That's not her daddy. Basically, we see Naria say to the confessional that Keith is in jail for a reason. And her mom has had bad past relationships and she doesn't want to see her mom get hurt again. I said, my goodness, this child is smart. So it looks like Letitia has a history of probably moving too fast with men, and then her kids have to watch her suffer and deal with these men, which is not fair. It's extremely irresponsible. But no shade, a lot of the baby mamas, they be so defensive and tell them in their head that something's right that they can't hear the rest of us, or by the time they hear it, it's too late. But it's like, your child is right. It doesn't make any sense to move this past. And somebody brought up the point on the Love After Lockup Facebook group. Why do these women and men, these people dating these inmates, it's one thing you're seeking out an inmate when you have children, but why are you bringing them in your home so quick and trying to force your kids on these people? You don't know what anybody is capable of. And for the safety of your kids, you shouldn't just do that. So I kind of agreed with that, specifically with Renika and Letitia, just because they're the two on the show. They have young children, and I'm just like, this is not safe. These women are just terribly irresponsible. And evictions don't help either, Letitia. I wish she would put less money into her wigs and makeup and fur long coats and more into like keeping a stable house for her kids. I really do. Um, Through the episode, moving past the bowling alley, we see the kids aren't happy about Keith. And then we basically see her ring shopping with LaShonda, some terrible name, her cousin, I believe it was. Uh, they go shopping. She says that Keith gave her a budget. I'm cracking up at how many of the inmates this season are just openly showing like they're in jail, but they're not letting jail stop them. They got money tucked off the government, don't know about. They got phones in jail. I'm just sitting here looking like, damn, they're just like, fuck the government. We ain't scared. It's craziness. That's how I'm like, it has to be fake because the earlier days of Love After Lockup, like they're exposing way too much, way too much. So basically, when she goes ring shopping, she says $2,100 for a ring is cheap. And I ain't gonna lie to y'all, that's how much my wedding ring was. And we caught that bitch on sale. So I'm just kind of like, to the average person, they're just kind of happy to have a ring that's real of some value. Letitia wants a ring. Her husband gave her a budget. I did not catch the budget. I'm sorry, y'all. But she ends up going over that budget and choosing a $15,000 ring that, in my opinion, did not look like it was worth $15,000 because I have a ring the same size that looks similar and was way less. She's buying it with his money. She swears. She says he has a card of some sort. And the sales lady selling her the ring, that lady was selling her ass off. She's like, listen, he'll forgive you if he really love you. Listen, ladies, don't do that. You can't just, would you be happy if your dude just spent $15,000 of your money when you told him not to spend that much? Like, nobody would like that. Like, respect your spouse's finances. Like, respect isn't just about being faithful and all of that. Like, that didn't make no sense. So that was basically, in my opinion, like the beginning of the collapse of Letitia. Because I've heard, shout out to According to Amber, I put the description in the last video, that Letitia has been obviously evicted, but we know it potentially we could see that happen on the show, which is interesting. So I really hope she get a financial counselor. It's scary how you have an accounting firm and you're doing taxes, but you yourself are really bad with money. That's like concerning. I just want the people dealing with my taxes and money to like be good at money themselves. I think that's a fair expectation. Whew. Moving it on along to the Hot Mess Express of the show, Renika and Ashanti. I keep saying Ashanti. This man's name is Asante. Apologize, Renika and Asante. So she's on the way to bail out Asante and says she has to meet a family member to do so. She says that Asante gave her the number of a family member to connect, and she's on the way. As we know from the last episode, Asante is supposed to be getting out, but he had another charge because he caught charges in jail using that jail phone and all types of other crazy stuff. I don't know why the hell she thinks she could take him seriously. I also heard that they're going to be on Love After Lockup, the new season. So I'm kind of like, huh? She's doing interviews talking about she's single, but then they're going to be on the show. I just feel like these couples this season may provide entertainment, but at the same time, while providing that, they're not lasting. Like, we don't have any couples lasting. And I'm tired of people like, bring back Monique and Derek. Y'all sound fucking stupid. They're not together. If anything, give Monique and Derek their own little show elsewhere, but we don't need that back on the show. I'm still laughing at all the big people fighting in slow motion. I'm still cracking up at that. Anywho, so Renika's on her way to see her dude. He's supposed to get out. He has a family member to pay the bill. Renika calls Asante and his phone is disconnected. So she starts calling the jail. And eventually homegirl gets through, finds out that Asante was released already. Now she done upped her life, kicked her family out of a party, upped her kids' life, who her kids are not happy to be in Atlanta, left the security of family. She has a business, jobs, all of that to go to Atlanta to chase after some man. Shameful, pathetic. And it's kind of sad. She's a female rapper. Females like to rap about independence, not letting no nigga hold us down. And Renika is everything opposite of what she raps about. That's what we're seeing. That's not good. I do song reviews, by the way. There's one tomorrow on Sunday, and there's one every single week. But I can't take her seriously as a person, a mother, none of this for making these decisions. And she still has on that fucking wig. She still has on the wig. Renika and Letitia stress me out the most on this cast. They really do. I think, and they're terrible examples, in my personal opinion, of mothers and African American women. It's kind of, I'm like, what is going on here? The wig, chasing after this man, being so concerned about him. Renika came out to Atlanta, and the first thing she did was send her kids off somewhere to start school while she waited for her man. I'm like, what about your kids? What the fuck? I just cannot. By the by, my husband watched the episode with me last night. I was cracking up. He said Letitia looks like Wendy Williams. I cannot. I cannot with that man. Shout out to Oso Best, who has lots of music dropping. Anywho, so Renika and Asante are a hot mess. He gets released. He doesn't say anything to her. I personally knew there was bullshit coming when she was like, I have to meet a family member of Asante's. The only time niggas refer to somebody as a family member is if you a side chick or one of many chicks or a chick that they want that they don't really deal with on a serious level. Like, you're going to know this is his Aunt Bertha. This is his aunt, whatever. Hell, I don't care for Letitia and Keith just because they're a little annoying, more so her, but just saying, she be with his auntie, kicking it with his family, all that type of stuff. So it's very weird when your dude's like, you got to meet a family member. What kind of family member? Who is this person? I feel like when men use that term, they talk about a baby mama or somebody who family but ain't family but is family because they know the family. But that could be just me. Oof. Anywho, so after calling jail and finding out he was released, she stops. She calls her sister, and her sister gave us the episode title. It was done well. She said, oh, sound like you got you a user. Sound like you got you a user. That's what her sister said. I love her sister. And, Renika's talking to her. She's like, well, you know what you got to do. You know the right choice, but you're going to make the right choice. You're going to do what you need to do. And her sister hung up. After you go off on your family the way you went off for this person, and then you expect them to just come rescue you and talk you through it? No, I don't give a fuck. You wanted to be there so bad, figure it out. So it looks like Renika gonna be figuring it out. But I'm really hoping that, I know Atlanta is probably a much better place to be than Kentucky, but I'm a firm believer if you have a big support system, and it looks like she does in her family and loved ones, and your kids are happier where they're at, just let your daughter finish high school and then move. Like, why are you doing this? Like, I understand you want your kids with you, but sometimes the best thing you can do is allow them to be somewhere else. Maybe let them stay with their grandmother or your sister and let them finish high school. They're so young, but they also at the same time are at that point in school where they don't want to remake friends. They just don't. But that's all we see. We don't know that Asante will answer the phone. I'm assuming he will because he's going to be on Love After Lockup with her. So I don't know. All I know is her wig is terrible. She's still wearing it. I don't know why the wig has sideburns. At first I was like, no, those are baby hairs just on her head incorrectly. No, that wig has sideburns. Whew. Child. If that ain't a Shanae wig, I don't know what is. So the last couple we're going to go over for this recap is Brittany and Karak, our youngest couple. Karak, for those unsure, just as a reminder, is born a woman transitioning into a man, still housed with women in the jail. Brittany hasn't heard from Karak in days. He was a little upset. We see that Karak is kind of shady and his friends are shady. It gives me controlling, potentially abusive. Karak seems like the type that's going to use his traumas and past traumas, maybe affiliated with transitioning, his triggers. I feel like he's going to take those out on Brittany in a way that's not healthy. And this is not an attack at all on the LGBTQ community. So don't come at me with the bullshit because I'm just going to ignore it as I do often. But Seems like Karak is that type of a motherfucker. He just seems awful. But she hasn't heard from him in days. She talks to her friend from jail because she knows multiple people in the jail. They were all housed together. And her friend says that Karak got into a fight. She was a part of the fight. There was this big fight. Everybody got in a physical altercation, which I thought was interesting. Brittany's like, oh my God, he's not supposed to be doing this. She finds out from her friend that the fight was in the cell. Now, I thought it was weird that her friend would tell her about all of this over the phone, because all of those who know, if you know, you don't want to just say anything on a jail call, because all those calls are recorded. So you're not going to be on there admitting to getting in a fight if you're an inmate, because you could be charged with that fight, especially when she exposes at the end of the conversation that the fight was in the cell and nobody actually saw it in terms of DOs and COs. So I don't understand why she would say that. So that did look fishy. So we then see later in the episode that Brittany, because she lives with Karak's brothers, which I think is weird as fuck, but I'm gonna leave it there. Nobody trusts Brittany for some reason, but Karak's the one who's shady and has all this money, all these types of things. So Karak gifts Brittany with a grill, which at first I was like, why would you gift her a grill? If my husband bought me a grill, I'd be a little like, okay, so you're gifting me the ability to cook for you? Like, anywho, so we find out the grill is sentimental because Brittany grew up grilling carne asada. She's Hispanic, grew up in a close family, but her family doesn't deal with her anymore because they are strict Catholics and they don't agree with her choices as it pertains to her same-sex relationship and, tattoos, makeup, just a lot of things that she does her family does not agree with. So she's and I'm so tired of this. We have a lot of these in the Bay Area and like the richer areas, like towards San Rafael, Palo Alto, areas like that. Like, you kids that's not from the hood, it's okay to not be from the hood. I never understand fully why they rebel, because she didn't have a bad life. She just had strict parents. They were Catholic. They were very strict. And a lot of times they go in a different direction. So basically, the grill was meaningful for that reason. It reminds her of her childhood. So Karak bought her a grill. He also gives her $300 cash, which I was like, where's this money coming from? Brittany says that Karak invested in something. I can't remember what. It was something that sounded like, okay. But he did only give her $300 in a grill. That's probably like $600 total, if that. I mean, and that's in California, so I know it's got to be a lot cheaper in Virginia. Basically, everything goes okay. They start grilling steaks and whatnot. But she talks to Karak on the phone. She's like, thank you for the gift, but I heard that you got in a fight. He immediately gets upset. He's like, I ain't getting no fight. Don't come at me like this. And she's like, well, this person told me this because, she said she got people watching his ass. So looked like Karak lied and then start trying to manipulate the whole situation. The friend could have lied also, though, because why would you admit to a fight on the phone? So I guess producers think this is a big storyline, but for me, I'm kind of just annoyed with it. I'm ready for love after lockup, honestly. Personally, I feel like love during lockup, it's okay, but I'm more interested in the love after lockup. You can only do so much of love during lockup. Much of the shit they argue about is stupid. I got friends who done held niggas down in jail. Like 90% of the time, the shit they're arguing about is stupid. So that's my recap. Not too much, in my opinion, happened in this episode. I wasn't the most impressed with it, but we will continue to recap Love During Lockup every Saturday. We will also, once Love After Lockup comes on television, we will also go over Love After Lockup. I will consider recapping Life After Lockup, depending on how views do for the upcoming week on Mrs. Best Reviews. The very next live stream we will have will be tomorrow on Sunday. We have a song review with my beautiful, beautiful fine husband, also B3ST. We would love it if you would check out his music on all platforms. You can see the B3ST in your corner. That is our company and little business dealings. So also B3ST, if you look into him, it does support Mrs. Best as well. So we appreciate you. I will be back on Sunday for a song review. Feel free to submit music of yourself or artists that you know who are independent. And we will be back again on Wednesday here and on the Watch Your Mouth Reviews channel to go over the Housewives of Atlanta and our weekly love and hip hop recaps. So if you have any feedback, ideas, recaps you'd like to see, or just want to share love, feel free to do so in the comments, or you can follow me on Instagram, TikTok, Threads. What else is there? Facebook, and probably some other shit. But I hope everyone has the best Saturday. Adios.